San Francisco, one of America's most notable cities. Known for its landmarks, environment, culture, and wealth, this beautiful city offers $5 espressos and studio apartments for $4,500 a month. Explore the advanced infrastructure of the Salesforce Tower and the Transamerica Pyramid, or excite your palate at many high-end restaurants. However, amidst all the wealth, there is one prevalent problem that the city faces, and that local residents encounter daily. That would be the homeless population. Homelessness in San Francisco has been a problem ever since the 70s, mostly due to the loss of jobs from deindustrialization, the spike in housing prices, and the lack of social welfare programs.
We had a president once who was when he was president, he did away with all the care for mentally ill people.
After President Reagan took office, he decided to defund and shut down mental health facilities. When the United States underwent deinstitutionalization, many of these patients in the facilities found it very difficult to transition to community centers for many reasons.
Trying to get into a shelter is really hard, especially if you're a woman, because shelters don't feel very safe when you're a woman.
Additionally, many people feel that shelters attract more crime and will cause people to lose their individual rights. Instead, most of them drifted towards the streets and used harmful forms of coping mechanisms. This ties in directly with the rates of homeless people that also suffer from different forms of mental illness. Today, roughly 36% of homeless people also have a mental illness. As of July 2019, there are approximately 8,000 people living in San Francisco without a home.
Department of Homelessness. And they come out, they'll send their outreach team, and they'll come out and they'll evaluate people. Because homelessness is a broad term that people use to address people on the street, but just because they're on the street doesn't necessarily even mean they're homeless. They may have a home to go to, right? So they'll come out and they'll evaluate. The Department of Public Health has a street team. They'll come out and they'll try to see if it's a mental health issue, do we have a narcotics issue. The bottom line is that everybody has a story. And people who can't come from all together, they all have different problems. And so there's different entities to try to help.
If today's solutions were effective, homelessness would not be a problem for people with mental illness. Sadly, most of the services offer limited help to a small percentage of the homeless population. Now, we need to focus on enhancing the services that are currently being provided today, the navigation centers. But first, a little backstory on what they do. The first navigation center was opened in March of 2015 and served as a successful pilot for the program. Here's how they work. People are admitted on a case-by-case situation and receive care accordingly. This is fantastic because no one solution works for everyone, so personalized care works the most efficiently. However, the limited number of navigation centers that have been built, along with a relatively low housing capacity, only allows for a small percentage of individuals to receive care. Navigation centers, like most other housing and support centers, have a long waiting list.
At that point, my son was 6 months old and my daughter was 7. We went to live in the homeless shelter on Mission and Grand in San Rafael. It's a family shelter, and it took us about 6 months to get in there.
So in order to combat wait times and increase the total housing capacity, the construction of more navigation centers throughout San Francisco is called for. Western San Francisco is ideal due to the fact that there are no navigation centers there currently. Building these navigation centers can be pricey, upwards of $4 million. However, San Francisco spent $241 million on the homeless in 2016, and that figure has risen since then. There is room in the budget to build more centers, and that's key to helping people struggling with mental illness and homelessness. Many in San Francisco argue that a housing-first model is the best way to address the homeless crisis. This does provide people with shelter, however, it does not take into account the high proportion of mentally ill among it. Those who suffer from mental illness often aren't stable enough to hold down a job, and eventually run out of means to support their residency. It only provides them with a short-term solution. To best help with dealing with the crisis in San Francisco, the government needs to employ and enhance the navigation centers that are currently there. This is the best way to put San Francisco's homeless population on its path to recovery.
being homeless is not nice. I used to say I was houseless because I had my children and I felt like I was providing them a home, but we didn't have a home. Now we've had a home, and I think it's made a real difference in my kid's life.